Hi, this is Catherine Lang-Cline, and this is The Secret Art of Business. And today I am super, super excited to have Debra Penzone. I know her as Debbie. And we've known each other. We were just talking off camera a little bit. And we've known each other for like 15 years now, which is crazy. And that kind of aligns with when you took the helm at Charles Penzone, because we met with in a women's group, and yeah, we're all just kind of figuring it out as we go. And but you started with a great foundation with a company. But I personally think that it has been kept so current and has been elevated. But that's all because of you. I mean, it started like with a fantastic idea, but you have definitely delivered as their president. So can you first let's talk a little bit about the Penzone salons, and then we're going to get a little bit into your yoga studio too. So let's start with that.
Okay, great. Well, I've been at the salon and spa for 36 years, believe it or not. So, been a part of the business for that long. So I've seen so many different stages of our company and our brand, and how we've moved through the different stages. But it was really powerful in 2008 when I took over as president. I had started on the front lines, so 36 years ago, I started out as a stylist, really doing hair and understanding our service, our products, and our guests and our community. So I think that's very powerful. I've been on the front lines. I know and understand truly the product that we serve and that we give to the community. So that's always important. And then I worked in the training for our team, and that was a really powerful moment for me. And then I started cutting back some of my days behind the chair servicing guests, and I really started focusing on our team and training and education, and then learning the other areas of the business, marketing, operations. So I had a great mentor, of course, my husband, Charles Penzone, and he kind of did the same thing as he evolved into that leadership role as well. So in 2014, when he kind of passed, or 2008, when he passed the torch over to me, I didn't know if I was ready to step up and take that leadership role. But with his encouragement and with our team that was around me, it was scary, but I was ready. You don't know you're ready until you take that big, bold step, and you really have to rely on that team and all of the knowledge that you have gathered through those years of actually, producing and delivering that service. So I felt very fortunate that I had all that support, because it was kind of scary. But 2008 happened, and we all know what happened in 2008, the economical world crises, and that was my start of my presidency term. So it was kind of crazy stepping up in that role and having to really go through that. But it really did help me understand, some of the, what's important and what can you do without in a business, and really getting down to the people and taking care of the people and the guest.
Well, I think there was no better choice to have be elevated to president, because, like you said, you knew the customer. You were, there from the get-go, all hands on deck, and learned the process, the training all the way up. So you can constantly keep, using that as an example of what our customer like this, and know if you decided to challenge them, which I think you kind of have too, as far as what a spa should be. Know whether or not they'd be willing to step into that new space now, but I think it's worked pretty good.
I've been very fortunate.
Yes, and in the time frame that we knew each other too, you always had like this thing kind of simmering, this other thing that was kind of all yours, and you were digging into it. And I really got to experience you exploring this new space, which was that of wellness and yoga. So how did you I guess start with that? How did you even get started with that?
Oh gosh, I think back, I've always been a pretty active person. I was more of a runner, and if you would have told me I would have taken up yoga and meditation, back in 2013, I would have said, you are crazy. But in 2014, I had a
That's so boring.
Yeah. And like, you just sit there. I cannot sit there. I'm like a go person. And I would think, I'm an athlete, I'm a runner, and that made me feel so proud. But in 2014, when that life moment of losing my father happened, I really was struggling just to find a way to breathe and get up and find, that connection to self and to be able to go on, seriously. I mean, I was, really grasping. And at that same exact time, girlfriends, we went on a girlfriend trip. And my one girlfriend from Florida said, what do you guys want to do on this trip? There's a yoga studio. Would you like to try yoga? And it was like that started, that first class with this group of women started this whole like aha moment for me, because I really felt grounded. I got connected in that class, and it really did touch me emotionally, and I felt the physical difference of it. And so I wanted to start exploring. So in 2014, I signed up for a yoga teacher training program.
Oh, wow.
And I never thought I'd be a teacher. I got talked into it because I wanted to go on a retreat, and I ended up couldn't make it. I just wanted to get away. I wanted to go on this retreat to India. And then I couldn't make that happen. So the instructor said, Debbie, if you want to really dive deeper and learn this, why don't you sign up for our teacher training program, 200-hour program? And so I did it. And it was really to dive into understanding my body and my instrument and my mind and help myself. But then, of course, it was this amazing experience of sharing it with the community and others that made me want to continue to, eventually, open a studio to have it for the community and give back.
Yeah, and I absolutely love that. And I was telling you that I was just looking at your website, and it has, and there will be links to all of this stuff so they know where to find you. But Lit Life Yoga is pretty freaking amazing because you have luminaries as your teachers, I guess, and all sorts of different levels of types of yoga, which I thought was really fantastic too, because I think some people kind of think yoga and it's always just like one thing, but you have everything from like very simple, basic, or like traditional, I should say, to stuff that's a lot more challenging. So that kind of touches probably a little bit more of your athletic soul, if I were to guess.
Yeah, and we really wanted to do, when I did Lit, I wanted to make it more modern, but really grounded in that history of yoga, their traditional yoga as well. But we added this multi-sensory. So I wanted to add all the senses as well, light therapy, aromatherapy. We have the headsets, which are really cool for like binaural beats and meditation, as well as just adding that really cool edge of, music with the sound off headsets. So we really wanted to make it really multi-sensory as well in each class. And we added the aerial yoga, which is very unique and different. And that can be a real restoring practice, or it can be real dynamic as well. So yeah, and we love the different variety of the classes, from it's not just about the postures. And when I came up with what is Lit, it was learn, inspire, and teach. And so we also became a yoga school to teach other teachers, which was really important. But it was really about that life plus yoga that I added in the logo, because I really wanted everybody to understand it's not just about the yoga pose. Right. There's no perfect yoga pose. For me, it was the life and the 8 limbs of yoga, living yoga, that changed my life. It wasn't just the yoga pose. It was all those other things that added together.
I love that you just tied all that together like that, because it is a very powerful thing. I think that not only you experience, but that you're trying to get others to experience as well. But that, of course, cannot just sit by itself, because you are still president of Penzone Salon. So how did that philosophy start bleeding into the salon?
It has been truly, I feel like it's coming full circle for me, which is just incredible, because you know how many years I've been working towards this.
And I've seen it, so I'm so excited for you.
I get goosebumps here, because just last week we hosted 60 teachers from a Dublin latchkey community. And it was a grant. So the only way we could host the grant, and we got the grant, Lit had to sign it, because we were providing that wellness and mental wellness and stress exercises, breath work, meditation practices for the teachers.
Right.
And then we had the Penzone on one side providing the beauty on the outside. So the two brands came together to really create this really amazing night for these 60 teachers of not just beauty on the outside, but truly diving in to health and wellness from the inside. And for me, that has been everything that I have been dreaming about to bring to the community, because it goes so much deeper than just that outer shell of beauty. But yet, that outer shell of beauty and taking care of ourselves, sometimes we don't realize how much that is self-care. You know, sometimes we think, oh, getting my hair done and my makeup, like I shouldn't be doing that. That's frivolous to spend the money. But no, that time of sitting down and getting a nice relaxing shampoo and that connection of somebody else taking care of you matters too to your overall well-being.
Yeah, and if you've, most people I'm going to guess have had, a haircut, a manicure, a pedicure, and how you really feel, I mean, inside after that about yourself, I mean, it's freaking priceless.
So powerful.
And I know,
that power of touch is so powerful.
Yes, that too. Like, well, somebody washing your hair, come on, there's no better feeling.
Yes.
But even with the salons too, you have kind of turned it into a little more even of a wellness space too in general, not just so much the classes, but with like juice bars and things like that. So what have you incorporated at the Penzone salons that people might not see at a normal salon?
Oh, I was so excited in 2018 when we did this whole rebrand. I didn't want it just to be a logo change. You know, I really wanted it to be about how do we live it. And so we created at the heart of the salons and spas this social room. And with the social room, it's all about social engagement and connecting, this human connection that we can build stronger. So we wanted this area, of course, we got our liquor license. So we have a real bar and cafe, and we have a barista, and we can do cocktails, mocktails. We also work with Cameron Mitchell. It's a wonderful organization here that does our cafes for catering to bring in this really wonderful food offerings as well. So we just wanted at the heart to be this really cool social community space where everyone, our guest, our team, could come and actually interact and really be able to be in community together.
Yeah, and it really taps into that whole inside-outside beauty thing that, I think the brand is definitely developing into. And I think a lot of it has been, triggered by the yoga studio. But let me ask this. What did you do as a kid for fun? Because I want to know how you got from there to here. So what was your main outlet for fun when you were a kid?
Well, I did love everything about beauty. And if you ask anybody, little Debbie growing up, little Debbie always had her curling iron and her bag of makeup. I did makeovers all the time on my friends for summer parties, even, my family members. But I also think about the artist side in me. So I always took studio art and art classes. And that love for creating with my hands came from my mom and my grandma. So my grandma, I look back at pictures growing up, and my mom and my grandma, we had 7 kids in my family. Sometime, for a while, my grandma lived with us. So big house, we didn't have a lot of resources. So we would go out to the fabric store, and I'd get to pick a pattern out for my school picture. I have about 8 pictures of school pictures where my grandma and me worked together to make this little dress. And
wow.
And she would let me pick out the buttons, and then we'd find the beautiful fabric. And then my mom, every season, she had 7 kids. She had so much to do. Every season, she would totally let us redo our rooms. She would do it with us. Like, she's like, okay, what color do you want? And I'll never forget one, yellow. I did my whole room yellow. And then we would go out again, my grandma and mom, and we'd pick out a fabric to make a bedspread, pillows, and even curtains.
Oh my gosh.
And with that yellow bedroom, I did sunflowers, big giant sunflowers. And so the whole room was just like this bright joy. But I learned that gift and that joy of creating with my hands from them, and really the fun of exploring and picking out little things that you could put together. And it was just such a special gift because it was so unique. Like nobody else had that. It was uniquely that we made it. And I think back to that because I know at one point when I became a teenager, then it was not cool that my grandma made me a dress. And I wanted the brand stuff. But,
Yes.
but they were great role models, women role models anyways, when I think back to watching them, sew and create and put together all of that. So I always loved art. I always loved fashion, beauty was always there around me, and nature. So my family, because we were so big, we would go camping. And I got that love of connecting to nature from when we would go camping. I mean, nothing is like, exploring nature, totally disconnected, hearing the birds, finding the leaves, a campfire breakfast or campfire s'mores or pizza pie at night with stories. And that became a real strong foundation for my family, is disconnecting and going into nature was so powerful. And then another thing that I think about a kid that really did affect me was music. My dad loved to sing, and he played the organ and the piano. We always had a piano organ. I was towards the end of my family, so the older kids all got to have piano lessons or trumpet or what else? A clarinet. I think my sister got to play, and then I never really had that ability. I think because my mom, we all got so busy. But
Right. They get so over it after a while. I'm from a large family too. There's barely any photos of my little brother. And I'm like,
that starts to happen as you go down. But that love of music and playing music and singing together, the church and choir and stuff like that, I think that was a real special part that always added to my well-being and my happiness. Now I'm doing some research on, like the vagus nerve and sound baths and sound therapy.
Oh, wow.
And I never realized how all of that plays into your wellness and joy.
That is so cool. And I have no doubt that based on what you just told us, you are exactly in the right place that you should be right now. And I'm super excited to see what you're going to come up with. And I say that just with my own testimonial of when you were just starting to explore this. I remember you did an exercise with our women's group, and I could not believe how effective it was. And I'm like, oh, wow, she's really kind of onto something here. So I'm so glad that you just kept, tenaciously building this, and have made it still a very yellow and sunny space, with both of the businesses, to be perfectly honest. My next question, just to kind of, wrap this up a little, is, what are you doing, based on what you just told me about, like all that, crafting and creating and hands-on stuff, how are you still applying that to your two businesses today?
Well, we're just right now, fingers crossed next week, we're hopefully going to get our new project approved through Dublin City Council. So we're working on this whole new concept. And it's really bringing everything together. And it's a concept that we have that will really launch with, training, education, an academy, and not just hair, makeup, and beauty, but it's really life, and career success, happiness and joy, and really trying to bring together this whole mind, body, wellness. Taking it to that next level of data and research. Through the pandemic, we all realize now the power and the importance of connecting our breath and our body to our mind and our nervous system. How do you co-regulate? How do you self-regulate? What are these different ways that we can learn to use our body to get out of the fight or flight, sympathetic nervous system into the parasympathetic rest and digest, and why all that science and data is so powerful now with meditation, breath work, mindfulness, movement, you know, and that's kind of this next big project that we have been working on for years now that is finally coming to launch. You know, hopefully we'll get started on the construction in April. So that's kind of how I've kind of infused that, the next new us, and what is it? And I'm really excited about this, 18,000 square foot building that we'll be able to work through. We'll be able to offer it not just for our team and our guests, but we'll open it up to the community to collaborate with all different partners.
I think that is brilliant, but of course it is. because you just have a way of figuring it out. And I think, honestly, I'm going to attach that directly to pattern making as a kid, because that, you have to figure out how this is going to be put together. What are the pieces that are involved? And I got to make sure that I have this, everything just stitched properly. And, granted, you abandon it a little bit when you're a teen, but, there's a lot to be said about that sort of thinking at a very young age and kind of keeping that activated the whole time, because you're still kind of doing that. You're kind of, you're picking out the buttons still, Debbie, it's.
And I think it's really what those aha moments, we call them aha moments,
Mm-hmm.
when that pattern becomes a full circle.
Exactly.
Connecting those dots. And sometimes we have to know that we don't know the why behind it right now.
Yep.
And we're trying to figure it out. And we have to really believe that we're doing it, and that reason will come and show itself to us. And sometimes just remembering those full circle moments. I'll never forget when in Women's President's Organization, we did that Briars, oh gosh, my brain.
Wasn't it
Myers-Briggs?
Myers-Briggs. Oh, see, we'll help each other out here.
Yes. And I'll never forget, like, all of this stuff came out with me, with music and sound and singing. And like our Cecilia was like, do you play an instrument? Are you into music? Do you sing? I'm like, no. Everything was no, because I wasn't really connecting it fully to other elements in my life that had happened. And now it's kind of like that full circle moment for me, like, wow, like the singing bowls.
Yes.
The different vocal toning now, with voice toning, and how that affects your body. Like, I'm learning these things with music and sound that help me be able to use my body as this miraculous tool that we were born with. And so it's like, even for that, like, now the pattern is making the design. I can see it now. Whereas before, kind of those elements weren't fitting together always. So I guess too, that giving yourself that grace that sometimes you don't know the why until that full circle moment comes.
Oh, I absolutely agree. And sometimes you just have to kind of keep noodling it with something until you're like, it's here somewhere. Yes. And finally it just kind of emerges out, and you're like, okay, that's it. It is a lot based on, the talents we've learned very young, or the things that inspired us when we were very young too. And I love that you're still incorporating all of that, because it's a great journey. I mean, really, and you're not done by any means, because you got this big thing coming up, and I can't wait to see it. It sounds so awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Thank you so much for doing this. I love talking with you because you are so inspiring, and it reminds me that I still, no matter what I do, have to still take better care of myself. And I think that especially, we don't like to talk about the pandemic, but it's there. Both of our businesses survived, which, yay. But we also came out with a different perspective, I think, on things too. And I really think that people did have that opportunity to, some did take better care of themselves, some did not, but now we're all back. And I think people are realizing that is so important. So definitely check out the Penzone salons and the lit yoga, because, if you're struggling with something, I'm sure your answer is going to be there, from something as simple as a pedicure to something as just a full internal experience that you can achieve. And kind of in both places anymore, but especially with lit yoga, and it's just so awesome. I'm so glad to know you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm so excited to be able to blend and bring, these two brands together to continue to explore this human
Yes.
connection and this human oneness, and really, that social engagement that we all need to survive. And trying
Yes.
to really, explore that and really be able to build those great relationships, between each other and in our groups and in our little communities together.
Cool. Well, I will have all your information available with this podcast and when I post it, so people will know how to learn more about Penzone salons and, of course, Lit Yoga. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, it's been my honor, Catherine. Take care. Thank you again.
You too. You too.